Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is about 20 after 8 on Monday evening, and I am just now uploading my drama video for the evening because I tried to start filming it before I took the Uber to marriage counseling tonight, but it was like every time I started it, like something would happen, and so I was like, I'd have to stop it and then start it again and stop it and start it again. So I was like, finally, I was just like, forget it. I'm just gonna do it when I get home. I actually wasn't even sure I was gonna film one when I got home. And then I was like, no, Alex will probably relax for a little bit, so I'll film it when I got home. And so he is upstairs with Boo Radley relaxing in bed. And so I filmed the drama video, and now it's uploading. And so I'm out here vlogging with you guys. So hi, how are you? And I just got a Liquid Death mountain water, which I purchased at Target this weekend when we went to Target before we went to our in-laws' house. And the case has been in Alex's car ever since then. So I brought it in tonight, and I was like, I've been so thirsty today, and I was like, I'm gonna have one of these waters while I am filming the vlog. So hi, how are you? I've been kind of tired today. It's weird. I went to bed really early last night. I've been going to bed early. Alex and I, we watched RuPaul's Drag Race. I know it's super dark, you guys, and most of you just listen to the vlog anyway, so it probably won't bother you, but we watched RuPaul's Drag Race last night. So what was yesterday? Well, I got done with everything. I had the book club, and then I filmed a drama video, Peterism's video, and then I vlogged. And then after that, and I was getting everything up, Alex was watching The Real Housewives of Miami. So I was checking in with him. And I was like, do you want to watch RuPaul when I'm done with everything? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I had my leftovers from brunch. I had my bagel and my potatoes, and then my piece of lemon poppy seed bread. And so I got that all out, and we watched RuPaul's Drag Race. And then we watched Untucked, which is like the after show. And yeah, and then after that, it was like 10:30-ish. And I talked to Tanya on the phone for, I don't know, like a half an hour. And then I went upstairs and I told Alex, I said, I'm gonna get into bed and I'm gonna listen to like Daisy Jones, and I'm just gonna like lay in bed and relax. And that was my plan, was to listen to like a half an hour or an hour of Daisy Jones. But I was so tired last night, and he came upstairs shortly after. I can't remember, he was like finishing watching something, and he came up like shortly after, like just like 15 or 20 minutes later. And so he was like looking on his phone, like, or playing on his phone, the township game and whatever, and I thought he'd be on his phone. He's usually on his phone for like a half an hour when he comes to bed, if not longer. Sometimes a lot longer than that. Sometimes like he's like on plays township and then looks at Instagram, and then township and then Instagram, and he'll be like on his phone for like an hour or so. But he wasn't. He like was on his phone for like just a little bit, and then he like plugged it in and turned it off and said good night, Alexa. So I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I was out by like 11:30 last night. I go sleep, like dead asleep, and I didn't listen to Daisy Jones. I kind of like, my attitude was, because you know I go to sleep and then I wake up at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I can't go back to sleep because I'm like wide awake. So I was like, well, if that happens, then I'll get up and I'll take Boo Radley out, and then I'll get a glass of water, and then I'll come back to bed, and then I'll just lay here in bed and I'll listen to Daisy Jones instead of like sitting downstairs and watching like TV shows or something like that, because all I have right now is Fear the Walking Dead. So I was like, I'll do that instead. And I woke up like a couple times during the night. I was having the weirdest dreams last night. Like, they weren't scary or anything like that. I just had like bizarre dreams. They were like, I was telling Tanya, like, I had a dream with her in it where we were like, it just was like random stuff that we were talking about. And so anyway, but I woke up and then I would fall like right back asleep last night. So yeah, I didn't end up listening to my book at all last night. And then got up today and did some stuff around the house and got ready. And I had a hair appointment at noon, so got my hair cut. She didn't do anything to it. She just like washed it out after it was done. And because I was putting my hat back on. So somebody's walking down the street listening to something or talking on the phone? Oh, they're listening to something. So I got my hair cut and was good to see my stylist because she's like a friend of ours too. And then like in that area where she works, there's like several restaurants. And so there's like a McAllister's and like a Joella's Hot Chicken and like a grocery store, and there's like an ice cream place, and there's like a wings place, and there's like several different places that you can go eat. So the last time I got my hair cut, I'd gone to Joella's Hot Chicken and I had gotten the vegan chicken, because you can just get like slices of vegan chicken, but I had gotten it on a chicken sandwich. And so I was really craving that today. So I got the vegan chicken with Ella's hot sauce, which is like out of like 7 or 8 different strengths of heat. It's like third. It's like real low. It's like barbecue sauce basically. So I got Ella's flavor of the hot chicken, then I put mayonnaise on it. And I got it with fries and macaroni and cheese, but I hardly ate any of the fries or the macaroni and cheese. It just wasn't really like that good to me. And then I got, what do you call it? A root beer. And then when I was done, I went to, I got an Uber home. And then when I got home, my plan had been to like film a bunch of videos today. I was going to film like a drama video and like a Peterisms video and a booktube video and a review video and a Peter Dust. I was going to film like videos on all my channels and have my vlog done before I left and stuff like that. Even though I had said yesterday like I might film it like after I got home. But I was so tired when I got home. I don't know if it, I was tired before I left, honestly. I think maybe I slept too much last night. And then on top of that, like I think like eating, like I got really tired. So I laid down and I was like, I brought Boo Radley up to, I made the bed real nice. And then I brought Boo Radley up to the bed and he got on his dad's pillows, which was so cute. And I said, okay, Boo, we're going to set the alarm for half an hour. I literally, you guys, I set the alarm for like just a half an hour. And I ended up sleeping for almost an hour. And I was so comfy. I was so comfy cozy in bed. And so I got up and then I was like, okay, I'm going to make this one drama video and then at least I'll have that done before I go to marriage counseling, because I had to get an Uber to go to marriage counseling as well. And that was when I was like filming it, and, like all this stuff kept on happening and whatever. Something happened, like I don't have my phone. Alex had sent me like the police report of what was going on, like minute by minute, because he has like that app or whatever that follows like police reports and stuff that stuff happens. But it was like literally like really close to us that somebody was like shot, and it was like 2 people were shot or something, and they detained this person, and Alex was like texting me and he was like, be really careful, and like don't go out of the house until the Uber's there. And I was like, okay. So anyway, got the Uber. All of my Uber drivers were super nice today, really nice guys, and got my Uber and went to marriage counseling, and good marriage counseling session. We didn't have tons to talk about today, so it was just kind of, we did like the questions that we do these questions sometimes, and it was just like whatever. It wasn't like a deep session, or sometimes, you know, you have those sessions that are just like not super deep or whatever, and that was it today. It just, we didn't have tons to talk about, so it was just kind of whatever. And yeah, and then that's that. we're getting ready to go to Miami, and everybody's like sending me all this stuff about how dangerous Miami is, and that they're having a curfew in Miami, and people are being shot in Miami, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, it's stressing me out seeing it. Not to mention that like where it's happening is not where we stay. It's like almost right where we used to stay back in the day. We used to stay at this hotel called the Victor Hotel, which is like right where all of that. It's like up 2 blocks down from like where somebody was shot. But so yeah, like that's kind of stressing me out because like Tanya's sending it to me, and like a lot of my friends are like sending it to me, and they're like, be careful in Miami. And Melissa and I were talking about it because she was like, are you seeing this stuff on the news? Oh, Melissa and I talked, was that last night? We talked last night too. And she's like, did you see this stuff on the news about Miami? Because, she's going down there too. And I was like, yeah, but like every year that we go down there, it's spring break when we go down there. And so it's like, this is always the case. And they always like have a curfew and all that kind of stuff. So, we don't go and do the late night clubs, and I'm way past all of that. Like Alex sometimes does when he goes down there with his friends, but like with me, like we'll go out to dinner and like call it an early night and watch shows and the room and all that kind of stuff, other than Ultra Music Festival, so which I'm really excited about. So yeah, and got to start getting ready for that. Now tomorrow, I do want to film a lot of videos, and I have to be ready. Alex gets off at 6, and he's going to come right home and like pull up and pick me up, and then like I have to be like ready, like sitting out here ready to go when he pulls up so that I can get to Tanya's in time. If not, I would have to take an Uber, which will be like would be a whole hour before that I would have to start getting ready and everything. So it's just easier for me if Alex can take me, and he is so sweet to do it. So he's going to take me to that tomorrow night. And because we have a business meeting, but our business meeting is at 7:15 because we have a bunch of stuff to vote on. So it's kind of interesting how it works in like 12-step programs. Like I'm like sitting here and I was like, should I talk about this? Should I not talk about this? But it's kind of interesting when you look at it from like how it all works. It's like, so there's things that are called like group consciences and like group, like where like you take like a group conscience, and that's like everybody has to basically vote for like something to pass, like in the meeting. Like if you're going to have a meeting, like if you're going to change the meeting from like 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, you would have to have a group conscience to do that. So like everything you do, you vote on, right? So it's very much that. And like every person that is like in a position, that holds a position, is like, they volunteer, but then like everybody votes on those positions, and no position is more powerful than the next, and each group is fully self-supporting financially. So like we donate the money, and then we pay the place to rent that out, and so there's that. But like tomorrow, like we're going to like vote on things, and so what that means is like they'll bring up something. I'm just trying to like make up something that would, but like, for example, if they wanted to like change the way that something was said in some of the literature or something, like words that were being used, they would bring it to like a meeting, and then we have a home group meeting, and then at the home group meeting, and you can only vote in one home group, so you only have one home group, and so that means you only vote once. And then what you do is you vote in that meeting, and they'll say like, do you vote, in favor or against this? And then whatever is, gets the majority vote is how that group votes. And so our group won't have like 50 votes. It'll have one vote, and the vote will either be in favor or against. Does that make sense? And so then that goes to like the district, and then at the district, it will be like they tally those votes, and then that vote is taken, so it goes forward, and then that's how they make changes within 12-step programs. It's really cool how it works, you know? And it also really, like, minimizes arguing and fighting. I mean, like, I have very rarely ever witnessed arguing or fighting over things like that. I've witnessed heated opinions about people, and I've had heated opinions about things that are changing, or should we change them, should we not change them, and things like that. But like, it never gets personal. It never gets personal. You know, when you think about, like, in a world where, like, I feel like with Facebook and Twitter and things like that, like, if you have an opinion about something, and especially, like, I mean, in some degree, I'm talking about, you know, a political system. When you're talking about, like, you know, that, it's like people will say, like, well, you're an idiot if you believe this, or you're crazy if you think that, or whatever. Like, it never gets personal like that. You know, it's just like, okay, this is what I feel, this is what I believe, based on my experience, based on, you know, this is how I feel this way, or whatever. And so people will be like, oh, okay, I'll take that into consideration. And somebody else might share and say, well, I hear what Peter's saying, but, like, I want to share my experience. And so you only share your experience. You don't say, I disagree with Peter. Like, what Peter is saying isn't true. Like, you don't say that, right? You just base it on your experience. And so then the other people might go, oh, okay, well, I hear what you're saying too. And they take that into consideration and they vote. It never gets personal. Well, it shouldn't get personal. I don't know where it does at meetings that I haven't gone to, but, like, now that's not to say that, like, committee boards and things like that are putting together, like, dances and whatever, that at times has gotten a little personal before, with, like, okay, what's our theme, under the sea kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes that kind of stuff does get a little personal, but, you know, we're like, are we gonna have brownies, are we gonna have chocolate chip cookies, you know, that kind of stuff. But other than that, like, no, it doesn't get personal. And the amount of stuff that gets done in 12-step programs, I mean, if you even had any clue, like, how many, you know, what's the word I'm looking for right now? Oh, shoot. Because Tanya and I were just talking about going to one that's coming up. Well, I mean, there are meetings, and then there are groups, and there's a difference between the two. And there are home groups, and there are service positions, and there are many service positions, you know, that you can hold within 12-step programs. And there are many different 12-step programs that go on within every city, you know. Like, even the smallest cities have many 12-step programs going on every single night. And if they don't, then there's international meetings that Zoom, and there's national meetings that Zoom, you know, that you can get online, and all of this kind of stuff, you know. And there's, you know, conventions, there's national and state, and conventions and regional conventions, and, you know, all kinds of stuff. It's very cool to see how all of that, like, works, you know. And then they have, like, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but it's, like, basically like these symposiums where they'll, like, you know, they'll teach you about, like, relationships and recovery. And so it'll be like a panel is what it's usually called, and then they'll have, like, 4 speakers that will come and talk about relationships and recovery, and then maybe somebody will share their story. I mean, it's really cool, you know. And or somebody that will do, like, you know, a workshop is what they're called. And you know, it's just and then there's people that organize that, and then they'll say, okay, we're going to do, you know, a relationship and recovery workshop. Does anybody want to volunteer for helping with that, you know? And somebody will say, I'll volunteer, and then somebody else will say, I'll volunteer, and then they'll say, okay, you guys are the 2 co-chairs, like, get a couple other people and put it together and pick a date and find a place, and it magically happens, you know? And you think about that, like, in the world that we live in, when it seems like we can't get anything done, you know, and then, like, all of this just happens. It's amazing. To me it is. And it's amazing to me that it happens. And I'm not going to say that there aren't opinions. I'm not going to say that, you know, like, Tanya and I driving home don't have opinions about things from time to time, because we do, you know, or I do with other friends of mine and things like that, or, you know. But it doesn't, you know, supersede or come in the way of the way things work and the way things are. And it doesn't come in the way of, you know, the primary purpose of one alcoholic or one addict helping another, you know. And it's really cool to see how it all works. And I think it's sometimes those moments that I'm, like, really, really proud of, like, being a part of something that's bigger than me. And, you know, when I got sober, it's like, And I was just like going to meetings and I, you know, like, I didn't get all that. Like, I didn't understand that that's what it was all about, you know? I just was like, I don't really know what I thought, like, when I first got sober. I don't really know. Like, I had, you know, I knew about recovery and I knew about sobriety and meetings and stuff like that and treatment, but, like, I don't know that I really knew what was going to be expected of me. I knew I needed to go to meetings. I knew I needed to get a sponsor because I had heard about that in groups, but I didn't know what that meant. Like, I didn't know what the point of, like, I didn't know, other than going to meetings and hear people talk about their sobriety, like, I didn't know, like, what the point of it was, like, what I was going to gain from it. And I didn't know, like, getting a sponsor, like, what a sponsor was going to do for me. Like, I was like, what's the point of getting a sponsor? Like, I don't get it, you know? I didn't have any clue if you had asked me when I first got sober. And I'm talking about my first couple months, like, working steps. Like, I had no idea what working steps were. Like, it was just enough for me to not drink and use drugs. Like, just enough. And so, you know, that's what I did. And meetings kept my mind off that. Meetings gave me hope. You know, it's always interesting to me when people say, like, well, when I go to meetings, it makes me want to drink more. Or when I go to meetings, it makes me want to use more. Because I can honestly say in my 28 years of being sober, I don't know that I've ever been to a meeting where I've left and the meeting and what was discussed in the meeting has made me want to use, like, ever. I've left a lot of meetings where I have felt what I think people must feel like when they go to church and they receive something from that on a spiritual level, because I haven't. I'm not going to say, you know, I was saying this the other day actually at my meeting, that, like, it's weird, is like, you know, Tanya always says, like, you know, as you get older, like, the spiritual road kind of narrows. And it's like, I have been in some churches, like, in the last couple years where I'm kind of like, I feel like a presence. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I definitely feel like a presence. Or I feel like I'll be in, like, a spiritual area and I feel, whether that's like a graveyard or, you know, a church or something like that, and I feel some kind of spiritual presence there, you know? So whatever that is, you know, the same thing that I feel like sometimes when I pray. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes, you know, but that feeling that I think that people must feel, like, when they go to church and they feel, like, spiritually moved, you know, where they come out and they feel just full of the Spirit, like, that is how I felt early on in sobriety. Like, I felt full of hope, full of dreams. I felt like I could do this. Like, I can stay sober. Not every day, but, like, most often when I left meetings, like, and I'm sitting there, you know, smoking a cigarette, drinking a cup of coffee, bad coffee, you know, in a styrofoam cup, talking to people that I had no clue who they were, and I was scared to talk to people, and I just stand there and nod my head, and they would talk to me and be like, you know, hand me their phone number on the back of a, you know, receipt from the grocery store or something, or a check stub or whatever, and they'd be like, if you need something, call me. And I'd be like, you know, they were just talking to me, and I don't know how to explain it, but inside I felt full of hope, you know. And I was attracted to movies like, I don't even know when this movie came out. It probably came out way after I got sober, but When a Man Loves a Woman, because, like, those movies showed those relationships, you know. And I can remember watching Clean and Sober and being like, God, I so relate to this, you know. And, like, when he just wanted to have a relationship with that woman, if you've ever seen the movie, he wanted to have a relationship with her so bad because, like, they had connected in treatment, and she's like, I can't, like, leave everything that I am, you know. It's just, that movie is devastating at the end, but like, I wanted that, you know. And watching Bobby Joe the other night, when Tanya told me to watch that movie, you know, and having gone to some new meetings and things like that recently, like, it makes me feel that again. Like, I feel that inside, like, that excitement about recovery. And I mean, I always feel that way. I'm so passionate about recovery. That's why I talk so much about it. But I feel that excitement and that hope that I had, you know, in early sobriety. And so I don't know. You know, it's interesting because, like, so I did this video on my Peterisms channel, and the video was called something like, "Am I an addict?" or "Am I an alcoholic?" And I got some interesting comments on it. They were all, like, really nice comments, but I got some interesting comments on it. You know, whenever I do a video like that, I'll get comments from people that will say things like, well, there was a comment, and the person didn't ask me anything, but they said something about, like, they had gone to meetings, like, their first 2 or 3 years, and they don't go to meetings anymore, but they remember fondly, like, how much those meetings meant to them in early sobriety, right? And I think about that, and I think about, like, well, what's different from their experience than mine? Like, why do I need to still go to meetings and they don't, right? Or, you know, maybe there isn't anything different, you know? Who knows, right? And then there was another person on there that left a comment that was very nice. And that was kind of asking, like, at what point do we say, like, okay, like, I've made the amends, I've done what I needed to do. Like, at what point do people just kind of move on from it and say, like, okay, we forgive you for what's happened, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know how to speak to that because I don't know, like, what your situation is like, and all I can speak is to my experience. And that's why, you know, it's really important to me. You know, I said this in a vlog not too long ago because I wanted to make it very, very clear. I work a 12-step program, okay? And in the 12-step program that I work, it's an abstinence-based 12-step program. So you don't use in recovery, okay? And I don't care what 12-step program you're in. There's no 12-step program that I know, okay? Whether that's Heroin Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, none of them, okay? That would say it's okay to use drugs or alcohol and be working a program and say you're sober. That doesn't happen, period, okay? And so if you work a 12-step program and you're claiming to be sober, but you're also using drugs, whatever you're using, I would tell you, I would say, I'm confused as to how you claim to be sober when you're working a 12-step program, because that's one of our tenets of being a 12-step program. It would be like saying, I'm a Christian, but I don't believe in Christ. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? Okay, like, to be in a 12-step program and say that you're sober it's an abstinence-based program. So, like, that's, like, you wouldn't say I'm sober from, like, you wouldn't have somebody, like, in Alcoholics Anonymous smoking pot, and, like, I mean, we call that, jokingly, the marijuana maintenance program from time to time, but you wouldn't have that, and then, like, people wouldn't think that that's okay, you know what I mean? And similarly, you wouldn't have people in Narcotics Anonymous that had quit using drugs, but were drinking, and that they would think that that was okay. I mean, these are abstinence-based programs. Narcotics Anonymous even says, you know, and alcohol is a drug too. And so you wouldn't have that be in those programs. And I think sometimes, because I say, like, however people get sober is their business, like, you know, and there's a lot of different ways to get sober, I think sometimes people confuse what I'm saying, and that they're like, oh, well, Peter does this and whatever, and he thinks that's great and whatever. I can only speak to my experience. You know, my experience is that after trying to quit many different ways, white knuckling it, just smoking pot, just drinking beer, just drinking wine, just doing this, just eating pills. I mean, I tried it so many different ways, right? And it never worked for me. The only thing that worked for me was going to a 12-step program and doing what they told me to do. That was the only thing that worked for me. But it's not my place to say that that's what works for everybody. I don't know. So I don't judge anybody that does it a different way. You know, and I was trying to explain this to somebody, a friend of mine in recovery the other day, that, you know, if there's somebody out there and they quit using heroin, but they smoke pot, you know, and they're living a successful life, congratulations to them, you know, that they are able to, you know, raise their kids and have healthy relationships in their life if they do, and things like that. Congratulations to them, you know. If they don't want to work a 12-step program, that's their business. It's none of my business. It's not my business, my place to judge it. I need to stay out of that, you know, and I need to work on Peter and worry about Peter. It's none of my business how people stay sober and what they do. But that being said, it is important for me so that people know that the program that I work, okay, is an abstinence-based program. So from my point of view where I sit, if somebody said to me, you know, like, that they were eating pills and smoking pot, but they were sober, I'd be like, well, we don't say that we're sober in our program and do those things. So no, you're not, you know? So I just wanted to make that clear, because I think sometimes people get confused about that. They're like, oh, so does Peter think it's okay to do those things and whatever? It's not an okay or a not okay thing. Like, it stopped. It's not an okay or a not okay thing. Like, it's a life thing is how I look at it, right? And how somebody chooses to get sober is their own business, you know? What you realize as you get older, because I think that there's this misconception often that 12-step programs are ways to stop using drugs and alcohol. And I think, like, what makes me sad sometimes is when people say, well, like, I went to meetings for a year, but, like, then I didn't need them anymore because I was fine and I wasn't having cravings anymore, right? Well, when you look at a 12-step program, a 12-step program really is not about that. You know, it talks about drinking and drugging being but a symptom of the disease of addiction. It talks about, you know, basically finding a higher power, you know, and, or unless you're agnostic, and then dealing with that, and then coming up with a search and fearless moral inventory of your life, and then sharing that with another person, and then looking at your character defects, and then making a list of people you have harmed as a result of your use, and then making amends to those people directly, you know, and then doing a daily inventory every single day, and then having conscious contact with your higher power, or whatever you call, you know, God or whatever, and then being of service to others, and, you know, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, you know, whatever, we carry this message to others. Okay, so that's what it's about. It's a design for living. It's a way to get through things, you know? And I think it's no mystery that I've had some shit happen in my life, right? And, like, I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for me being sober in a 12-step program, period. Period. And that's not about, well, I would have gone back out and used a bunch of pills. That might have happened. It's not about me being like, well, I would have, like, started drinking again. That might have happened. Or I might have started smoking pot every day. I don't know. Those things might have happened, but it allowed me to keep my sanity. It allowed me to have some hope in my life. It allowed me to inventory feelings and emotions that I was having, and it was a design for living to take a look at my life. And that's why I keep on doing it today. That's why I keep on going to meetings. That's why I keep on staying in contact with people in recovery. That's why I have a support network. That's why I'm of service to others. That's why I, you know, try to be there for other people, and that's why I'm accountable to people like my sponsor and my friends and things like that, and my home group, because it teaches me accountability. It teaches me patience. It teaches me humility. It teaches me modesty. It teaches me hope. It teaches me love. It teaches me compassion and kindness. It teaches me all of these things, right? Not always, and I'll never be a perfect example of that, but daily I am served pieces of those pies. And then I have a way, a lens to look through it. So I didn't get that at 28 and a half years ago. Like, I didn't understand that, right? Like, when I got sober and walked through the doors of a treatment program, that's what I was, like, looking at. Like, I thought, well, this is about me just quitting drinking and drugging. I didn't understand all of that. And if you had told me that on day 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I would have been like, oh no, I'm not here for that. I'm not here for the long haul. I'm not here for all that crap, see? But today, I have a life beyond my wildest dreams, like my old sponsor used to say. Today, I have an unimaginable life, even if it's just sitting in a chair talking on the phone, or watching a TV show, or, you know, loving making YouTube videos, or interacting with you guys, or whatever. I have an unimaginable life today as a result of the way that I look at the world through this design for living that I've been given. It's magical. It's absolutely magical. And I think that's the thing that people miss about recovery and sobriety. It's not just about drinking and drugging, you know? And part of it is you take a look at why you drank and drugged. You know, for me, it was because I didn't like myself. I didn't like the things that I had been doing. I didn't like the feelings that I had, whether they were feelings that were imposed upon me, like from years of being bullied, of feeling like I was less than, that I didn't matter, that people didn't care about me, that I was a piece of SHI toot, you know, whatever. It was all those feelings that I had, those insecurities, I would drink or I would use, and then I would immediately just, like, I feel better, you know? Or the lack of confidence that I had. I had no confidence, but if I drank or if I drugged, you know, I could be whoever you wanted me to be. So, It's so funny, this woman's walking down the street and her dog's name is Boo too. But because of the song, not because of Boo Radley. But, you know, like, I had no confidence. But if I drank or I drugged, hell, I was taking my shirt off and dancing on tabletops and bars, you know. I could be whoever you wanted me to be. I was the sexiest person in the world. You couldn't tell me I wasn't, right? You know? When I hurt, when I was in pain, I didn't cry. Hell no. I was stoic, you know? Pop a pill, you know? When I needed to show up for something, well, I usually didn't. But if I did, and I had to, you know, whatever. So, like, emotionally, I just dealt with everything. I muted my feelings. I muted everything by drinking and drugging. So then when I got sober and I had had enough of sobriety, and that's why we do this inventory and stuff, it all just came out like a floodgate. It just like, it just all came out, right? And I didn't know what to do with it, which is why I had a sponsor to help me guide my way through that, because I was like, well, what am I supposed to do with all of this now? You know, I have like all these feelings and emotions all sacked up around years of being bullied and my mom's drinking and my parents' divorce and, you know, which, you know, on and on and on. And, you know, like, at that point, like, people I had dated and ways that I had been mistreated, and, you know, I just had all this crap that I wasn't even fully willing to discuss or talk about, you know, at that point. I just wasn't. I wasn't willing to talk about it in a vulnerable way. It's taken me a really long time to get there bit by bit by bit. And the more I do and the more that I've allowed myself to open up through the years, the more I've allowed myself to help other people, I think, when they've heard those parts of my story and they'd be like, oh, well, I relate to that because I've been there too, you know? Or I'll hear that in somebody else's story and I'll be like, oh my God, I'll go up to them after a meeting and be like, oh my God, like the same thing happened to me. Thank you for sharing that, you know? That's not about drinking. That's not about drugging. That's about living life. It's a design for living. And I'm so thankful for it, you know? I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that. The people in the rooms of recovery taught me how to live. You know, they taught me that bad shit can happen to you and it's going to continue to happen to you. You get sober, it's not like you win the lottery, you know? Sure, it feels great for a while, you know, but like, then you get your life back and then you realize you got to pay bills and, you know, life is not the greatest thing in the entire world sometimes, and bad shit happens and hard, tough shit happens in life. I'm cussing now. I should say S-H-I-T, sorry. But like tough, hard stuff happens, you know, and yet you don't have to go to that as an excuse. You don't have to, I don't want to ruin this movie for, well, I don't want to say it, but To Leslie was such a powerful movie, and at the end of it, there's a part where she like turns to, like, she almost turns to drink, and I'm not going to say why, but anyway, and it's like, wait for the miracle, you know, because you would miss opportunities in life that are right around the corner for you. I loved that movie so much, you know, but like, just don't miss the miracle, you know, and that was what I was told, you know, when I came in here. And the miracle some days is very simple to me. The miracle is watching Boo Radley, you know, hop around the yard, you know, that he is still doing good, you know, like that's the miracle to me, you know. Sometimes the miracle is getting to witness somebody at their very first meeting ever. Like that's a miracle that somebody made it alive to come into their very first meeting ever, you know. Sometimes the miracle is seeing my friend get her 27-year coin, you know. Sometimes the miracle is getting my 28-year coin, you know. Sometimes the miracle is going on a trip with my husband. Sometimes the miracle is just sitting out here talking to you guys. Most days that's the miracle, you know, that I'm allowed and privileged to be able to have this life today that I had, you know. that I'm so grateful for. I'm so incredibly grateful for. And I think that's the thing that if I wish anybody would understand, they would get that about recovery, that it's so little to do about the drinking and the drugging, you know, like, when people will say to me, like, they'll reach out to me and they'll be like, I haven't craved in like 3 or 6 months, or I haven't craved in 2 years, like, do you think I need to still go to meetings or whatever? I mean, do you, like, do what makes you happy, right? I've been sober 28 years. I don't crave very often. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you the last time that I was like, God, I have to use, or I'm not going to make it through today. Like, I don't even know that I have had that feeling in me. I don't even know the last time that I've had that feeling in me, where I literally thought there was no resource other than to drink or drug. Like, I cannot tell you, and that's what I mean by craving, okay? Not just kind of like a drink sounds good. Like, that's not a real craving. I'm talking about, I am going to drink if I don't call somebody, or I am going to use if I do not do something about this or get to a meeting immediately. I don't even know the last time that I felt that way. But I can tell you the last time that I felt down, and I can tell you the last time I felt sad. I can tell you the last time I felt hopeless, or the last time that I struggled feeling if I could move on or go on with things, I can tell you the last time that good things happened to me that I could celebrate over or get excited, I can tell you all these things in my life, that back in the day were things that I used over, and that are now today things that I don't have to use over because I have a design for living and a solution to that today, I'm so grateful for that, because it's so cool. It's an amazing life. So I've rambled on and on and on enough, so I'm going to get off here now, and I'm going to go see if my drama video is done, and then I'm going to put this up. So I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Monday, and if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And remember these 3 very important things. 1, you can start your day over whenever you want. 2, practice random acts of kindness, but shh, don't tell anyone. And 3, most importantly, make sure that you reach out to somebody and let them know how much they mean to you. You might be putting a smile on their face. You might be changing their day. You might be making them feel more positive. You might just be making them feel more hopeful. You don't know. And also, be kinder to one another. Love one another a little bit more. And most importantly, be kinder and love yourselves a little bit more. And I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you.